Welcome back to the Light Up Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Peters, and today I'm joined by Dan Sachkowsky, aka Big D. He's an entrepreneur, business coach, speaker, and he's the host of the Big D podcast. Dan has built multiple successful companies, overcame major adversity, and now he helps entrepreneurs break through limitations, step into leadership, and build businesses that create freedom, impact, and legacy. Welcome to the show. I'm really excited we're able to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, glad to be on it. I know it was we had to jump through some hoops to make it happen, but we did.
Um, Always got to make it happen, right? So I know you've faced major adversities and you even survived a heart attack. Can you take us back to the season of your life where that happened and then what it taught you?
The season of my heart attack. Yeah, so that was an interesting day in my life. When you chase money for 40 years and you chase success, and all of a sudden you go through a situation in life and none of that matters anymore because you feel like life is over, things just start shifting in your head. So I remember, I really thought I was dying. I text my kids, hey, I'm sorry. I tried to be the best I could. I wish I could have showed up better, whatever that looked like. And then in the ambulance, I totally drew a blank. As we watch movies as kids, we see, everything turns white. You feel like you're just like you're leaving this earth. That's kind of what happened, right? And then I wake up in the hospital, just like the movies, with people standing over the top of me, all these beeping going on, people literally in your face, like, "Hey, you there? Hey, hey!" And I didn't know if it was a dream or if it was true. But what I do know is when I came back to consciousness, I thought about a couple things. If I did just die, and my kids were going to have a conversation about me 15 years from today, what would that conversation be like? And what I think is most people don't write their obituary until it's too late. So I said, if my kids were to talk about me 15 years from today, there'd be no value in the conversation besides my dad knew how to make money and work hard. So now that I have another opportunity to live, like, how do I change that? So I just felt like I was able to make a lot of money, do a lot of things, be a true CEO. And if I valued other people at this point and I became a servant, and I started showing people how to show up the way I knew how to show up, the conversation would be different 15 years from today.
Wow, that's a really, really pivotal mindset. And I believe a lot of people sometimes have to go through near death experiences to actually wake up and to say, okay, wow, this is the legacy that I really want to leave behind. And so I know a lot of people, it's hard for them to face setbacks, right? And a lot of times your setbacks become your setups for
Mhm.
success. So, what were some of those mindset shifts that you had to make once you went through that experience?
Well, I had to realize number one, that for 26 years in business, 25 years in business, I was putting myself first as cheering myself on, making sure I was the one who was showing up the way I needed to show up. But at the same time, I realized that there was no value behind that. So the shift is like, if I can show other people how value is really created, because I think a lot of people in business, everyone calls himself an entrepreneur. I feel like I was a true entrepreneur. I feel like I call everyone else a wantrepreneur. Like, everybody wants it,
Mhm.
but they don't know what to do to take it. And if I was able to just shift the way I thought by saying, hey, if I could take the average operator and show that average operator how to buy some time back, be more present with their family. Because if you look at most people who are in business I talked about people who have families because I have kids. And if you talk about most people who are in business that have kids, what do they say? Like, I do it for my kids. And I question that. Like, do you really? Because what do your kids get? The time that you have left, the exhaustion. Hey, I'll get back
So
to you in a minute, right? So you're
Mhm.
really not showing up, but you're spending more time at work and you're doing more things every day. And then all the time that you have left, you're just catching up to do the same thing the next day. So most people live with the thought that they're doing it for their kids or their family. But realistically, when they're there, they're not even there.
Wow, that's definitely a profound insight to have. So, how did you make that shift from just living and working to actually setting up a successful business, pretty much running on autopilot?
So my businesses were already running on autopilot, but I just wasn't serving others at this point. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sell my company. I'm going to get rid of everything, in the traditional way. And I'm going to get rid of it all, but also go out there and start showing people how they can set themselves up to be in a position to sell. Because anyone who owns a business, if your business can't sell because you're the owner operator, you just have a glorified job. So I just put myself in a position to get rid of my companies and say, you know what? I'm going to teach people about processes, systems, and really understanding what business is supposed to be and how it's supposed to be set up. And I just kind of went right into it and I just figured out, hey, as long as I can create the patterns and all the things that people need to plug into, I just got to find the people to plug into it.
Yeah. I agree with that. When I was in network marketing, I know you were as well. When I first started, I didn't have any systems in place. But as you keep growing and you keep evolving and learning, you have to realize if you want to scale
Yeah.
like at such a really fast level, you need to have some systems in place. And so, what would you say are the systems that any entrepreneur can use that really help you scale?
So let's just jump back to network marketing real quick because it
Hmm.
taught me a lot about business. My first business that I had from 17 to 24, I made a lot of money, but then I lost it all. And then I got involved in network marketing. What network marketing taught me was understanding people and understanding how to drive something because most people get involved in network marketing and do it as a hobby, as a side thing. But I was forced to do it as a full time thing. And if you've ever looked at any of the success in network marketing, it's everyone who does it full time and they create systems, they understand people, and they create leadership. So when I got back into traditional business, I knew that leadership was important. And I had to go out there and figure out what that leadership was. So the biggest problem in traditional business today, number one, is culture. Most companies don't have culture.
Agreed.
Most
Mhm.
companies don't have core values. Every company has seats to fill and they just want to, hey, whoever's resume we get, as long as it looks good on paper, we're just going to throw them in there. But it's the opposite effect. And then they want to create person and then teach the system. So what you need to do in business is you have to figure out what your business model is, figure out what your systems and processes are. Then you bring the people into the systems that fit the right plugs. And then you can operate that way because now you have your culture, you have your standards, and everyone's operating on your core value of what you're trying to accomplish versus just filling a seat for an hourly wage.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know you touched upon legacy and we're talking about standards. So, how has your standards for your business and what you accept in your life changed over the evolution of your life?
Well, I think a lot of times when you get involved in business, everyone gets involved in business because they want time, freedom,
Hmm.
and money.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
So when you're an entrepreneur, one thing you have to understand, and when you're a business owner, is that money is not a reliable source because you don't always have it. When you have a job, you got a paycheck every week. But when you have a
Hmm.
business, sometimes you're at zero,
You're
sometimes
right.
you're a hero. Right.
Mhm.
So the biggest thing is adapting to that cycle. And that's where most people lose because they can't understand that shift and they can't balance in a place where when they have a lot of money, don't spend it all. And when they don't have a lot of money, don't freak out. So
Mhm.
that's the first thing. But the second thing is knowing that money has to be secondary. I learned this early on. No matter what you do for business, you've got to show up every single day and make sure whoever you're serving or whatever you're doing is coming from a place that you really truly want to see some kind of shift or some kind of change. Now, once you start doing that, you start providing things for people and start doing things that are going to change people's lives, money's ultimately going to show up. But too many people drive in business just because they want money. If you chase money, you're going to chase it forever. I did it in my young age. And it's something that's never going to stop. You're going to have more week at the end of the money every single
Mhm.
month.
You're always gonna want more. It's
Yeah.
all of these materialistic things that you just keep compiling, and at the end of the day, it's really not meaningful. How has faith played into your role as a business owner? I know for me, it's completely transformed my life, having faith and belief and knowing that there's a bigger power out there that's guiding me and protecting me.
So after I went bankrupt at 24, after I made a lot of money, had a lot of stuff, had the MTV Cribs lifestyle that, that's what I thought wealth was because that's how we grew up.
I
Um,
remember that show.
Remember? And then lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Mhm.
So when you see stuff like that, when we were kids, that image was portrayed that that's what wealthy looked like. So I had all that, but I was still empty. But when I lost it all, and I came into a place where I felt stuck, that's where Jesus came into my life. So I was born Catholic. I tell everybody I'm a recovering Catholic. And I don't say it, to make anyone feel defeated. But at the end of the day, the Catholic Church, religion, all this kind of stuff, it's traditional. It's things that we get put upon. Like our parents say, hey, you have to do this.
Mhm.
But if you ask most people why they participate, they have no idea. They just show up because they're supposed to. Hey, what did you learn? I have no idea. So
Learned
most people who
behavior.
go to church, they only go to church because they're supposed to. They don't go to church because they're trying to get anything out of it. So I met a couple of guys who were Christians back in 2007, and I've only known them for a couple of weeks. I had a major incident happen. My son at the time was 18 months old. He fell 20 feet out of a window. He literally
Oh
turned as
my
white as this counter
god.
right in front of me. And so I got out of business. I was back in business. I was in network marketing. I was charging. I was making a lot of money again. And I feel like every single time we do something in life, God's got like a little check monitor out there. Like, hey, bro, I'm about to check you. I'm about to check you. So we either take it or we don't. So I got checked, and I was going to a really important meeting and I couldn't go. I spent the entire day at the hospital with my son. And these two guys that I had met probably like a week or two prior, they literally didn't go to the meeting that they were supposed to be at. And they came to the hospital and spent 3 days there with us. And they just, food, serve, how can I do all this? And they just start talking about Jesus. And I'm like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. But I felt like I owed it to them to show up for them because they showed up for me. So I went to my first Christian church ever, and it was their church. And I walked in, people were crazy, falling down, doing stuff. I'm like, bro, guys, listen, I appreciate the invite, but this is not for me. So then my mom's like, hey, come back to the Catholic church. I'm glad that you went there, but come back here. So I felt like I was a 14-year-old kid again. I went to the church. I sat at the top of the church and I fell asleep literally 15 minutes in the church because it was so boring. I was like, I can't be here either. So then I just started searching, and I found a church. And the one thing that I really liked about the Christian life was you have a man who has a family, you have a man who has a business, and you have a man who ties faith into real life. He puts the two of them together and he explains what scripture really means. But when you go to a traditional church and you got a guy in a robe who lives with other guys in the back room, like they don't know about life. You know what I mean? Their whole life's financed, but they don't really live life. They live in a coffin. So understanding the concept that this guy has real life and he's taken the Bible and he's put it together and he's explained to me, and I'm like, wow, like, he's talking to me right now. So I felt really good knowing that there was another place for that. So from 2007 to now, I've been growing in my faith. Am I a perfect Christian? No. Will I ever be? No. The only person that was ever perfect was Jesus. But at the end of the day, every single day, every single thing I do, I just make sure that, hey, as long as it's in alignment, and even if it's not, he's going to check me again because he's continuing to do it. And that's why I felt my heart attack was like a check. Like, hey, bro, you're on overdrive. Yeah. Checking you.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a powerful story, and I can definitely relate to you. So I grew up as a Catholic, and then we became Lutheran, and we used to go to church every Sunday, Sunday school, Bible study, and everyone was just wearing these white robes. I was an acolyte. I was lighting all the candles and everything, and it just didn't really resonate with me. I mean, some of the sermons did, but when I moved to Tampa, I found my church, and I absolutely love him. He is exactly what you were describing. He has 5 kids. He has 13 churches. He's opening up a 14th, and I'm just so inspired by the stories he tells and then who he is as a person. And I learned so much from scripture. I'm glad that you found your church. That's really special. What are some of the lessons that you hope your children learn from watching your journey as a father and then also as a business owner?
So I think fatherhood's more important, right? So I had a dad who didn't show up for me, and I've always showed up for my kids because I knew what was missing wasn't going to be missing in my life. And what me and my kids are all super, super close. For about 4 years' time, me and my middle son, we didn't talk. And but me and all my kids were all super, super tight. And you actually met my daughter. So we have a really good relationship because number one, I think being a father, number one, is important. But number two, being understanding. Traditional ways of being a parent and trying to tell your kids what to do isn't the right way, but understanding why your kids want to do things and explain to them the benefits or, the consequences of those things is a little bit different. And I think another thing is that, we're grown up in a world where kids are supposed to be seen, not heard. I mean, we all heard that. And we're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to do that stuff. Our grandparents would be like, stop crying. If my kids are upset about something, I want you to cry. Because I know what it was like for me for many years of my life, having to hold things back and the trauma I had to deal with from holding that all back. So I want you to cry now. You're okay. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to be emotional, but you have to grow through it instead of going through it, right? So we grow up in a place where everyone says, hell, I don't understand why I have to go through this. No, your job is to grow through it. Like, what do you learn? How are you processing it? How is it going to change you? Where's it going to take you? So an important lesson for me, for my kids, is number one, to have a high IQ, high quit attitude. Like, you're not going to quit in life because you know that life's going to be hard. Life is not easy. And anything in life that you ever do that's going to be challenging means that there's value on the other side. But anything that's easy has no value. That's number one. Number two, never allow anything outside of yourself to break you. You're the one who stands in there. You are the creator or destroyer of your life. Nobody else can make that. So my son, 21 years old, he got interviewed by one of these guys who interviews, successful dudes. My son's got a successful company. And one thing he said is like, don't ever let anybody be the navigator of your life. You are the only one who can create that. So just knowing that I've taught him that and he
Mhm.
knows that. And I want my kids to all know that, like, hey, you have the joystick. That's the problem is most people become 17, 18 years old. We all dream as kids. And then when we become an adult, we're told, okay, well, you can't be in that place anymore because you got to step into reality. Right. So I was on an airplane. We were coming back from Aruba and the stewardess goes, okay, guys, we're going back to reality. And I'm sitting there. I go, that's the most like shitty thing you could have just said to everybody in this
The
world.
worst.
But everyone goes, I got to leave. I can't wait to go back on vacation. They're already planning their next vacation because they hate their life. If you got to vacate your life, you better check your life.
See. Yeah, you wanna create a life that you love every single day, and you're excited to wake up out of bed.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And so I really want to dive into your relationship with your daughter because growing up, I had a very toxic father. My father's an alcoholic. So I had to unlearn all of these behaviors. How important is it for you to show her what a foundational relationship should look like? What are some of those qualities that you've instilled in her that are a baseline of how a man should treat her?
Well, the reason why I got divorced was because of my daughter. So
I
my daughter was 8 years old and she came up to me and she said, Dad, why don't you sleep in bed with mommy? That day and time, I was like, I got to change. And here's why. I have two older sons, older than my daughter. And when you have sons, you just kind of want them to be tough in the world, go out in the world and do their thing. But when you have a daughter, my daughter just turned 16 the other day, and I sent her a nice message like, 16 years ago, you taught me a different side of love. I didn't know what love was. It's different. Like when you have I think when a mom has a son, there's a connection there. But when a dad has a daughter, there's a bigger connection there because it softens you. A mom might have a mama's boy, but it's going to weaken the man. But if a dad has a girl, it's gonna strengthen the girl because
agree with
what
that.
happens is my job is to show my daughter what type of man she should have in her life. So by being married and sleeping in another room and teaching her that's okay, I'm creating a pattern that she's gonna now fall into because she never experienced love. So I said, I have to get divorced. I have to end this because as my daughter grows up into her teenage years, she's gonna think that this is the way life's supposed to be. So I need to be the example. So it's super important for me to allow her to be the person she needs to be, but also show her the man that needs to be in her life by her brothers and by myself to make sure that she knows that, hey, any other man who walks into my life needs to set at those standards.
Absolutely. I love that. And what advice would you have for someone who's going through a struggling relationship in their marriage and they're saying that they're just staying for their kids?
Worst thing you could do. So
I
what happens is you destroy your children and your children see patterns and you create toxicity. So the longer you stay, the harder it's going to be to unfold a better life for your kids because they're never going to know what life's really supposed to be like. And it's only an excuse. I'm staying till the kids get out of high school. I'm staying
Mhm.
till the kids do that. Well, what are you really proving to yourself? You're just not willing to be uncomfortable. I don't know if I can afford to get divorced. It's going to be too hard. Everything is hard. But again, like I said before, if it's hard, that means there's value on the other side.
You have to choose your hard too, though, because it's really hard waking up every day and setting these standards for yourself. But it's really hard if you make an easy life and then you have so many things that happen to you later in life because you just lived a mediocre life.
People go, divorce is expensive. I go, divorce is worth it. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, like staying together is expensive. What are the things that you're teaching? What are the things that you're doing?
Yeah, what is it costing your
Yeah,
health and well being?
exactly.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I definitely agree with you, and I feel like if you're not happy, how are you gonna be able to pour into anyone else, especially if you have children? So, definitely on the same page as you. So, anyone listening to this, if they're starting a business or they're just feeling really stuck, what do you think is one step that can help them take ownership of their life?
Well, number one, know why you're doing what you're doing. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. So if you love and you desire something so great, right? If the why is big enough, the how to is easy. But if you're just doing it to make money, just go get a second job. But if you're really doing it for a reason, for a purpose, and you're showing up in a way where you know that you're going to have to be doing totally different things that maybe you ever thought you'd be doing, but it's going to benefit other people, you start putting other people in front of your own needs, then you're on the right track.
Mhm. I think that's the biggest difference. A lot of people, like you said, chase money, but you're going to keep chasing the rest of your life. But if you have a divine purpose and you're living in your dharma, every single day, work doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're just making a massive impact,
100%.
which is amazing, which is what you're living right now. Mindset, energy, like showing up every single day, even though you don't want to, right? What are some of those mindset shifts that you have to make to just make yourself do the things that you don't
So
want
we
to
could
do?
talk about discipline, super important. It's a major factor, and also talk about like resistance. You know, like people don't understand resistance. Even when you're in the gym, you're trying to build your muscle. Everyone's like, "Hey, how many reps you doing? 3 sets of 10." No, it's not about 3 sets of 10. It's about building your muscle to failure. That resistance is where your muscle grows. The same thing with your brain. You know, so yeah.
I agree with that. So I see it in my own life, right? I mean, I've been through so many challenges, but I'm realizing now that it's only refined me into the person that I am today, and it's given me the foundation to create all of these things in my life. So how has that shown up in your life, going through that resistance and knowing that it's actually for your good?
Yeah, so resistance is super important. I started bodybuilding when I was a young kid. I was like in 17, 18, 19 years old. And I just watched these guys in the gym, and I would just watch these guys go to exhaustion. And I just realized every single rep counted. But then I would go back to the weight room and football, after football practice, and I would say, Coach would be like, all right, everyone max out and do one and do one and do one. And it was just about how strong you were. But the strong guys didn't look good. The muscles weren't defined. They just had a lot of strength. If you have strength, but it doesn't develop, what's really the point, right? So I started watching and getting so obsessed with the bodybuilding world that it was like every single time you're doing a rep, you want that muscle to feel like it's tearing out, like that one last rep. So Ed Milet's got his book, right? The Power of One More, right? So it's the same thing. You're in the gym. You're about to make a phone call, whatever it is, just do one more. Everyone just sets a limit. Like, I'm just going to do this and that's it. So for me, like, I go from ain't to faint. So the minute I wake up, I'm going. And then as soon as I'm done with my day, I just burn out because I know I gave it my all. You know, I don't sit there and watch Netflix. I don't sit there and do this because I don't have that kind of time. So I think the biggest thing is like, are you going your max? Are you trying to build everything? I think I posted a reel like today or yesterday or something about going to the gym. People are like, man, how much do you work out? You must love going to the gym. I actually hate going to the gym, to be honest. I hate going to the gym, but it's part of my discipline. I've been going to the gym forever, but I show up because it helps me mentally, number one, and that's my space and that's my place. That's where I grow everything in my life because it's my zone, and I'm in my zone and I get to do something. And I make it consistent. And if I don't go to the gym, I feel like I jacked up my whole day.
Yeah.
You know, so no matter what I'm doing, I always push to the max, because if you kind of leave that little bit on the table, right? How many times you have a conversation and you leave the conversation, you're like, I wish I said that. Just go. Everything in your life has to be all in or not.
I agree with that. Yeah. And talking about Ed Milet too, he mentions too that you have to show up for yourself. You have to keep the promises you make to yourself. So even if you don't want to go to the gym, even if you don't want to wake up early, you're doing it to build that consistency, because we're all mirrors. So if people want to trust you, you need to trust yourself and emulate that energy.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a lot of things in life where, number one, everyone wants to do everything for other people, but how do you not do it for yourself, right? If you're not showing up for yourself 100, like, you can't do it for anybody else. You're just present, but you're not really making an impact. And I think there's a big like problem in this world where people think being selfish is bad. It's actually the best thing in the world, because if you're not selfish, you don't use your time, you don't take your time for you and become the best version of you, what happens? Everybody else gets you. So what does the majority of the world do? The minute they wake up in the morning, they're on their phone for a second, checking their email, who liked my Instagram, who did this, who did that. Like, I wake up in the morning and I read, you know, I journal, I do what I got to do because that's my time. The world's not ready for me yet. When I'm ready for the world, I'll introduce myself to it. But the problem is everybody wants to enter the world. Now you got a bad email. Now you see a bad breakup. Now someone sends you a bad message. Your entire tone is set because you allowed the world to trigger it.
Yes, that's so true. I remember doing a coaching session with Jay Shetty, and he said as soon as you wake up in the morning and you're on your phone, you're inviting all those people into your room, the news, like you just said, different reels and people. And so it's really important to protect your peace at all costs. So I'm curious to know, do you create a agenda the night before? Do you have a plan on what you're going to do, or do you do it that morning?
Every morning, my life is the same. The same. So even if I travel. So when I travel, like as long as I don't get somewhere at midnight or whatever, the minute I land and get somewhere, I'm going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I do that is because I want to take all that energy that I feel like I'm tired from traveling and bring that energy back. So now I'm present in the place, number one. Number two, I always try to get my 7 to 8 hours of sleep no matter what. So even if I'm going to bed late, I'm like, all right, well, I have to sleep later. And this Whoop band has been the best thing because it keeps me on track. But for me, sleep's super important because if I'm tired, I'm dragging and I'm not being able to show up the way I need to show up. So I just make sure no matter where I go, people always ask me, like, how do you travel all the time? How do you do all this? And how do you stay, like, number one, in good shape? And number two, how do you always stay so alert and you don't look tired?
Mm-hmm.
Because the gym and sleep are important. And even if my assistant's blocking out my schedule, she knows within that time frame what I got to do. So, like, when I hit Orlando, I got in Orlando at 10. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I got to hit the gym or I got to do something. So I just, like, kind of did a little workout a little bit, just kind of got like a pump, got my energy back, and then did a podcast. And then I traveled then, and I was like, all right, I got to go to the gym again because I didn't get my full day into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I just make sure that I get those things in.
Yeah.
But every time everyone travels, the first thing you want to do is lay on their bed and just relax for a couple minutes. You get enough time to relax on an airplane.
Yeah, so you've definitely made it part of your lifestyle, which
Yeah.
I think is a really big thing that people should be hearing right now. It's right. You made your life into your lifestyle. So it's not like you're going somewhere and doing a completely different routine. And I think that's important too for consistency. So I love that. And what's another way that you keep your energy up? I know you said obviously sleep is important, working out obviously, but is there any other thing that you do
I think
to
food's
raise your
important,
frequency?
like the food that you eat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I eat all day and I snack all day on what I need to snack on. But I'm not sitting here eating Twix bars. You know what I mean? I'll eat. I have cottage cheese in the car that I'm about to eat after I'm done here, and like maybe a cheese stick. You know what I mean? So I try to get the energy from the foods
Is
that
it
I
in the
need.
fridge? Do you have a freezer?
It's in a cooler.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
So you know, I always make sure that every time I'm putting something in my mouth, I look at it, right? So like, there's a couple things. What you eat in private, you wear in public, and what you eat in private, you show up in public. So if you eat bad, you show up bad. If you eat bad, you look bad. So I've got this whole thing about the way I eat and everything I got to do. I hate eating late at night. But, you know, it's super important to realize that there's a lot of different ways where you can pull energy, and sometimes you got to take a break. So there'll be many times where I'll take a 20-minute power nap. 20 minutes, that's it. You know, just get myself back, or just kind of just sit there and think. No phone, no nothing, and just kind of like breathe and think. And, you know, people don't do that. They don't want to reset themselves. They don't want to eat right.
Yes.
People are like, I'm always traveling. I'm always on a go. I can't eat good. I'm always on a go. I can eat good.
It's just a decision. It's a choice. And I'm the same way as you. I like to do like a 15-minute meditation after most of my eating, is because we're plugging in our phones for the battery to go up, and we have to do the same thing to reset our mindset and to
100%.
feel good. So I absolutely agree with that. So to wrap this up, I always like to do a quick this or that challenge, whatever comes to mind first. Are you
Sure.
ready? All right. Sunrise, grind, or midnight execution?
Sunrise,
You're a morning person. Building wealth or building impact?
building impact,
Quiet success or loud legacy?
quiet success,
Building habits or breaking habits?
building habits.
And then a spontaneous trip or a planned vacation?
It's a tough one. I would say plan. I don't go on vacation, so spontaneous trip. I go on trips, not vacation. I don't vacate my life.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was such a pleasure to have you. And for more people that want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Awesome. Yeah, you can find me at Big Dan Official on Instagram. It's my biggest platform. Or I've got all the Big D domains: Big D Coaching, Big D Mastermind, BigDSpeaking.com. Check me out there. And if you really want to talk, if you have any questions, anything, I'm a free information giver. So just hit me up on Instagram, and I'll get back to you.
So we'll definitely link everything in the show notes. And again, thanks so much for being on the show. And we're sending you all so much love and light.